So guys, previously we were looking at this question to do with foreign travel and why it might not be such a good idea. Hopefully, guys, this was not too difficult, and hopefully, if it was difficult, either way, my explanation made sense. But now, guys, we move on to question 16 of the IMAT 2013 paper. So it says, ever since Uranus was discovered, astronomers have thought that there might be more planets in the solar system. Because of small deviations in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune, deviations which would occur if another planet exists, some astronomers think there must be an undiscovered planet, Planet X. But these deviations cannot tell us whether Planet X exists because they would occur if the orbits had been wrongly predicted, right? Since Uranus and Neptune take many decades to circle the Sun, astronomers rely on old days to calculate their orbits. As this is likely to be inaccurate, the calculated orbits are probably wrong, and so Uranus and Neptune will deviate from them even if there was no Planet X. And this is which of the following best expresses the main conclusion of the above argument. So guys, give yourself a minute. Be sure to come back. So over a minute. So just over a minute. Remember, guys, 1 minute 50 is how long you have for the entire question. But we probably just through reading that spent around 20 or 30 seconds. So give yourself, guys, just over a minute. Be sure to come back where we'll be going through the solution. So let's go through this, guys. Question 16. So it says, ever since Uranus was discovered, astronomers have thought that there might be more planets in the solar system. So he's just stating another person's opinion, right? So stating another person's opinion is not really his own opinion, it's more of a fact. So this we can just cross out. So cross all of that out. And then it says, because of small deviations, the orbits of Uranus and Neptune, the deviations which occur if another planet exists, some astronomers think that there might be an undiscovered planet, Planet X. So for similar reasons, that's the astronomer's opinion. But in terms of this person who's writing it, they're just stating what other people think. That's more of a fact. And then it says, but these deviations cannot tell us whether Planet X exists because they would occur if the orbits had been wrongly predicted. So now, now this is where his opinion kicks in, isn't it? So this is the strongest opinion yet thus far. And then it says, since Uranus and Neptune take many decades to circle the Sun, astronomers rely on old data to calculate their orbits, right? So that's just probably, even if that was his own opinion, right? So the first part has to be a fact. They take decades to circle the Sun. Astronomers, yeah, so that's not really even an opinion. That's probably quite clearly a fact, isn't it? So you can just cross this out. Right, so fact. And it says, as this is likely to be inaccurate, the calculated orbits are probably wrong, and so Uranus and Neptune will deviate from them, even if there is no Planet X. So this guys is kind of ties in with the previous one, and that's clearly an opinion. It says, which of the following best fits the main conclusion? So the use of old and inaccurate data indicates that Planet X cannot exist. So this is also another tip, guys. Whenever in the statement they give whenever in one of the answers they give a really bold statement, likelihood is that it's probably not correct. So here it's saying, and so Uranus will deviate. So it says, as this is likely to be, it's likely to be inaccurate. So you see the language they're using there. It's not definitely inaccurate. It's likely to be accurate. So Planet X, it could exist if it's accurate, but if it's obviously the likelihood is that it's not accurate, therefore Planet X won't exist. But this is quite bold. It can't be this one. Then B says, astronomers are right to think that there must be an undiscovered planet. Right? He's actually arguing to the contrary of that. He's arguing to the opposite. That's wrong. It says the deviation of the orbits of Uranus and Neptune cannot tell us whether Planet X is. Yeah, this is probably more likely, isn't it? Because he's saying, yeah, cannot. So so this is kind of similar to one, although, but it's saying cannot tell us whether Planet X exists. So it could exist, it might not exist, but it's saying with the current data, you don't have enough evidence to suggest one or the other. So that one's good so far. Then D says the calculation of the orbits of Venus and Neptune are the calculations are probably wrong. Yeah, that's referring to a really particular part, isn't it? Yeah, so here calculated orbits are probably wrong. So that's it can't be describing the overarching idea. And it says Uranus and Neptune would deviate from the predicted orbits, whether or not Planet X exists. So I think this. Yeah, I think this was probably mentioned somewhere, but it's not giving the overarching idea that it's not giving the overarching idea that the DV. Basically, what I'm trying to say is not better than C. Where C is trying to say because of the wrong data, you don't know whether or not X exists. So this doesn't quite do justice to the main conclusion. So hopefully, guys, you can clearly see that the answer is C. And if that is so, this I agree, to process through your head what's going on in this passage is quite difficult. So, guys, if you have any questions to do with this passage, just post down below in the comments, and we can have a look at that and give you a tailored response to that. So, hopefully, that has made sense, guys, and see you in the next one. Okay, guys, so welcome back. So previously we were looking at this semi-sticky question where it was talking about this Planet X and orbits and Uranus and Neptune. Hopefully, guys, you agree that C was the correct answer, and hopefully it was pretty clear. If not, guys, just comment down below and we'll be with you as soon as possible. Now, guys, we move on to question 18. So let's read this together. It says, the low level of literacy among science graduates is an issue across all universities. One of the biggest problems is that the pupils in school spend more time perfecting their SMS, text message, and emailing skills than they do writing grammatically correct pieces of literature. It's important to get across to undergraduates that good writing matters. Employers take on scientists believing they can communicate their findings fluently and accurately. We need to deliver science graduates with these skills. Which of the following best expresses the main conclusion of the above argument? So guys, pause the video, give yourself just over a minute, and be sure to come back. We'll be going through the solution. Okay, so welcome back, guys. Let's go through this. It says the low level of literacy among science graduates is an issue across all universities. So yeah, it might be an issue in his eyes, but it might not be an issue in mine. So that's probably going to be an opinion, isn't it? Yeah, the next says one of the biggest problems is that pupils in school spend more time perfecting their SMS, text messaging, and emailing skills than they do writing grammatically correct piece of literature. Again, that's probably his opinion. I might not think the same thing. Probably more of his ideas, isn't it? So that's probably equally as opinionated as the first one. So I can just bracket that off. It says important to get across to undergraduates that good writing is important to get across to undergraduates that good writing. So here is probably a stronger opinion, isn't it? Because it's saying he's not only now being passive saying what he thinks, now he's saying is important to get across to undergraduates. So he's saying so it's giving the vibe that collectively we should do more to improve the writing skill of undergraduates. So that means we can cross out the initial parts. So all of this we can cross out. Right, and then now we're left with this part is important, good writing matters. Then it says employers take on scientists believing they can communicate their findings fluently and accurately. So that's probably more of a fact, isn't it? Even it was, in his opinion, it's going to be super weak and definitely not as strong as the previous one. So we can cross that out. And then it's saying we need to deliver science graduates with these skills. So hopefully, guys, at this point, you're happy with this is really, really strong now. And it actually ties in with the previous one, isn't it? And even, to be honest, we can really just cross this out now because this is such a strong opinion because it's saying we need to do this, we have to do this. It's being very demanding of us. So we need to deliver science graduate with these skills. So which one of the following best experiences to make conclusion? So education is failing those who leave with poor writing skills. So it's not really talking about education failing anyone. So that this one can't be it. Then it says student must be helped to recognize the importance of importance of good literary skills. Yeah. So that one is probably quite a good one, isn't it? Because it's saying we collectively must do something to give the science graduates of this, so to give the science graduate these skills, right? So this is probably more to it, right? And then if we look at many science graduates are unable to write are unable to write in a grammatically correct way. It does mention that somewhere, but that's just talking about specific parts, so it can't be this one. It says employment often depends on ability in literacy, right? So it doesn't really say that, isn't it? It's just saying employers look at these skills, but it doesn't say it depends on that, so it can't be this one. And then lastly, students do not concentrate properly in lessons in school. So no way, guys, does it say that. Hopefully that one's clear. It doesn't say that. So hopefully, guys, you can see B is the correct answer. And even if it isn't black and white clear that B is definitely the correct one, hopefully, guys, you can see why you can see the other ones are definitely correct. So you're basically left with process of elimination with B. So hopefully, guys, that has made sense, and we look forward to seeing you in the next clip. So guys, so previously we were looking at this question to do with the level of literacy amongst science undergraduates. Hopefully, guys, that answer was clear. And if it wasn't clear, just pop your comments down below and we can go through them. I'm sorry, guys, that the doodles weren't here. I accidentally got rid of them. But if you are looking for the doodles, you can just look at the previous video, which is linked in this video, where you can look at the answer as well as the doodles of how we went through that question. But now, guys, we move on to the same paper, question 21. So let's read this together. It says 1 in 4 deaths caused by road accidents involving commercial vehicles is caused by the driver falling asleep at the wheel. That probably even affects policemen and women who are now more likely to die due to driving when tired than by physical attacks. Evidence at the scene, such as tire marks, can tell investigators how quickly the car driver braked. Late driving would indicate lack of concentration, which might be caused by tiredness. The problem with this evidence is that it is not conclusive, whereas conclusive evidence can be offered for other such offences like drink driving. It says which of the following can be drawn as a conclusion of the above passage. So guys, give yourself for a minute. Make sure you're back, and we're going to be going over the solution soon. So let's go through this, guys. It says 1 in 4 deaths. So again, it's really giving a stat, isn't it? 1 in 4. That's probably, without even rereading the rest of the sentence, this is likely going to all be factual, this whole sentence. Right? So This is just all fact. And then it says the problem even affects policemen and women who are now more likely to die due to driving when tired than by physical attacks. Yeah, that's he's just stating his observation. This is more fact, right? So this is all just fact. Fact. And it says evidence at the scene such as time mark can turn investigate how quickly the car driver brake. Late driving will indicate the lack of concentration might be caused by tiredness. So this is all true, isn't it? He's not making lies about that. So we can cross this all out. And then it says the problem with this evidence is that it is not conclusive, whereas evidence can be offered for other offences such as drink driving. Yeah, so this might be his opinion, isn't it? That this evidence isn't. I might think it's conclusive, but he might not. So this is probably more of an opinion. Although I agree, it's not really a strong opinion where he's forcing us. This is being more passive. He's just putting out his idea. He's not forcing his ideas onto us that we should be thinking the same way. So that's what I think it is. So let's go through the answer. So guys, remember, this is the kind of one where there's not really a strong conclusion. So you kind of just have to have at the back of your mind what the paragraph was about. Right? So the paragraph is essentially talking about falling asleep on the wheel and that it's hard to pick up compared to drink driving. That's the most opinionated sentence we found. So A says actions caused by drivers falling asleep at the wheel are a greater problem than drink driving. So no way, guys, does it mention that that statement. It does talk about falling asleep behind the wheel and drink driving, but it doesn't talk about which one's more problematic. It just talks about which one's easier to suss out, essentially. So this one can't be it. It says commercial vehicle drivers and the police are more prone to falling asleep at the wheel because of the long hours they work. Nowhere in this paragraph, guys, does it talk about the hours that commercial drivers and police men and women work. So it can't be this. The number of hours per day that commercial drivers should be allowed to drive should be reduced. Yep, that's definitely wrong, isn't it? Hopefully you can see that. And if that was the answer, it would have been pretty obvious in the statement. He would have been forcing an idea on us. This should be done. This needs to be done. There needs to be change. And the next one, it will not be easy to prosecute drivers for falling asleep at the wheel as it is for drink driving. Yeah, I think that's quite good, isn't it? It fits that statement we highlighted quite well. So I'm going to put that down for now. And then lastly, it says it will be unfair to prosecute people for falling asleep at the wheel. Yeah, maybe so. Here, so what he's trying to say is that the evidence you get for someone falling asleep on the wheel isn't black and white clear. It might be right, it might not be right, and therefore one can say then that one may think that they can say that it's unfair to prosecute them because the evidence isn't so solid. But to make that assumption, guys, you are doing some mental processing. You are filling about with the statement. It doesn't black and white say that in the statement. That's why I think this statement is wrong. So hopefully, guys, you can see then by a process of elimination, even if D wasn't clearly the answer you were looking for, you can see by process of elimination that D would be the correct answer. So hopefully, guys, that was pretty clear, and we look forward to seeing you in the next clip, guys. Okay, guys, so previously we were looking at question 21, which was, I would say, probably medium level question. So hopefully, guys, the answer we managed to get was, I think it is the correct answer. And hopefully, guys, you managed to get that answer, and hopefully we're learning as we're going through this process. That's the main idea, isn't it? So now, guys, we move on to the next question, question 24. So let's read this together. It says, a study on identical twins concluded that genes contribute roughly half of the attributes we need to be happy. People often find such studies scary, seeing something sinister about us being mere puppets of our biology. However, put in non-scientific, it sounds like common sense. Parents talk about how their children had different personality traits from a very young age. Perhaps it's nicer to think this is caused by something fluffy like a soul, but even if that were true, why is it that more reassuring than the thought that genes are responsible? Either way, you're born as you are. Which of the following statements is best supported as the conclusion of the passage above? So guys, pause the video, give yourself all for a minute, and we'll be back with some good stuff where we're going to go through the answer. So guys, let's go through this. This is a study. So just by seeing that word, a study, I don't even need to read the rest of that. This is all just going to be fact, isn't it? So we can just cross this all out. Then it says, people often find such studies scary, seeing something sinister about us being mere puppets of our bodies. So here he's just talking about what other people think. He's just literally stating back what he's observing. So this is all going to be fact. And then it says, however, put in non-scientific terms, it sounds like common sense. Yes, this is clearly his opinion. It might not be common sense for me, but it is common sense for him. Right? And then it says, parents talk about how their children had different personality traits from a very young age. Again, this is just observation that he's seeing. So this is going to be all factual. Perhaps it's nice to think this is caused by something fluffy like a soul, but even if that were true, why is it more than the thought that our genes
that our genes are responsible. So here he's posing a rhetorical question. So he's not forcing an idea. So it's not a strong opinion, but he's trying to just put out there what he thinks, right? So I like this part as part of the thing. He thought that the genes are responsible, in this case, for personality. But this part, I guess we can cross out. And then it says, either way, you're born as you are. Again, that's probably his thoughts, isn't it? I might think that the environment has a bigger impact on who you are, but he's saying it's mainly just the genes. So yeah, we've managed to get an opinion, not super strong. So remember guys, when it's not super strong, we also have to take into account the context of the passage. So the context of this passage was talking about, just ideas of personality, and linking it with what we've just highlighted. He's just trying to say that, isn't it obvious that genes should be responsible for your personality, essentially? So it says, roughly half of what we need to be happy is decided by our genes. I think he might have mentioned something to do with, genes contribute half of attributes you need. But again, guys, remember that's just really talking about the first sentence, so this can't be it. And then it says, we may as well accept the idea that our potential for happiness in life is to some extent decided at birth. So at birth, obviously, your genes from birth to whenever you're an adult is going to be the same thing. So your personality, or your happiness, if you like, is going to be decided by your gene. Therefore, it's going to be whatever you have at birth is going to be what you're going to end up with. So I quite like this one. We would consider it. And then it says the next one, whether or not you are happy in life is either determined by your soul or your genes. No, he's actually saying it's not your soul, it's mainly just your genes, isn't it? So it can't be this. This whether or not you are happy in life is not something over which you yourself have any which yourself have any control. We'll consider this one, so I'll just highlight that one down. And so the person you are at birth is the person you'll be throughout your the person you are at birth is the person you'll be throughout your whole life. That one also, I guess we can consider that one. So this is quite of a sticky question, guys, in terms of the options. So let's go through this. It says whether or not so let's go through D. Whether or not you are happy in life is not something over which you yourself have any control. So the reason why I don't like D and also and also E is that, and E, which is the person you are at birth is the person you'll be at throughout life. That's pretty bold statements. He's just putting out an idea that he's not saying this is definitely the case. He doesn't have raw evidence to show. He's just putting out his idea down there. That's why I don't like D and E, because it makes it seem as if it's black and white. Whereas the reason I like B is it says it's to some extent decided at birth, right? And that's kind of the vibe he's giving. Right, he's not definitive. He's not definitive. He's kind of questioning it, meaning, it could be, could not, but I think that is probably more likely to be that. So that's why I like B, and hence why I'm going to choose B. So this was, I agree, guys. This was probably another challenging question. The opinion A wasn't so strong, so it wasn't really clear, and also the options. You could have get modeled up with B, D, and E, but hopefully, guys, and also, guys, it's question 24, so it's quite deep in, and generally, I think harder questions come in later on. So hopefully, guys, that has made sense. And if you have any questions, just comment down below, and we can go through them. But I hope to see you in the next clip, guys.